Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Math, grade 6. We are in Model 10, Statistical Measures and Displays. Today we have Lesson 5, Mean Absolute Deviation. Mean Absolute Deviation. In this lesson, we want to learn and understand mean absolute deviation. What's the meaning of the mean absolute deviation? Focus with me with this video to know what the meaning of the mean absolute deviation.
The table shows the number of points scored by a basketball team in 6 different games. Find the mean absolute deviation of the number of points scored. To find the mean absolute deviation, start by finding the mean of the data set.
We have, as you see in this table, points scored per game. We have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers in this data. To know what the meaning of the mean absolute deviation, at the first we want to find the mean. We want to find the mean. As you remember, when you want to find the mean, find the sum of all numbers inside the data, divide by the count of this number.
Calculate the sum of the values in the data set, and then divide by the total number of values. Next, find the distance between each value and the mean.
The second step, we want to find the distance between each data value and the mean. How to find the distance? The difference between the mean and each value. The difference between the mean and each value inside the absolute value or through the absolute value. Listen how.
One way to do this is to plot the mean and the data set on a number line. Then find the distance between the mean and the first value. Use the same steps to find the distance between the mean and each of the other data values.
So as you see, the distance will be the mean, the distance between the mean and each value. For example, here we have the mean 52, and the distance between the mean and the first value 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So will be 6. And the distance here between the mean and the second value will be 1, 2, 3, 4. And the distance here will be 1, 2. And here will be 1. And the distance from here to this value will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the distance from here to this value will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the second step, we want to find the distance. We want to find the distance between the mean and each value. Continue, please.
Next, find the mean of the distances. Find the sum of the distances. Divide the sum by the number of distances. The result is the mean absolute deviation of the data set. In this example, the average distance each data value is from the mean is 4 points per game.
For example, before the example, as you remember from the last lesson, we learned about the measures of variation. We learned what the meaning of the range and what the meaning of the interquartile range. As you remember, the range, the difference between the big value and the small value inside the data. And the interquartile range means the difference between the third quartile and the first quartile. Today, we have the third measure of variation will be mean absolute deviation. Will be mean absolute deviation. So to find the mean absolute deviation, at the first find the mean. Find the mean of all numbers inside the data. Then find the distance between the mean and each value. Then find the mean of the distance. Find the mean of the distance. You will get the mean absolute deviation. You will get the mean absolute deviation. Listen to me for this example. So the first step, find the mean absolute deviation. The first step, find the mean. Find the mean. Take the all numbers inside this data, divide by the total numbers. We have 8 numbers, so divide by 8. The answer will be 64. The answer will be 64. Then find the distance. Find the distance. And we have here in the blue dot, we have the data. Now the distance, this is the mean here. The distance from the mean and the first point will be 24, the second point will be 16, the third point will be 6 and 4 and 2 and 8 and 16 and 24. These numbers, the distance between the mean and each value inside the data. Then find the mean of the distance. Add the all numbers, divide by the total number, will be 12.5, will be 20.5. This is the meaning of the mean absolute deviation. This is the meaning of the mean absolute deviation. The last step, explain what the mean absolute deviation represents. The mean absolute deviation is 12.5 miles per hour. This means that the average distance each roller coaster's speed is from the mean will be 12.5 miles per hour. The second example, the table shows maximum speed of 10 birds. As you see here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 values. Find the mean absolute deviation of data, round to the nearest hundredths. Explain what the mean absolute deviation represents. Listen to me, please. To find the mean absolute deviation, to find the mean absolute deviation, M means mean, A means absolute, D means deviation. At the first, find the mean. At the first, find the mean. We have 10 numbers, divide by 10. Then you can add the all numbers. We have 88 plus 77 plus 65 plus 70 plus 65 plus 72 plus 95 plus 80 plus 106 plus 68. Then we can calculate now. We have 88 plus 77 plus 65 plus 70 plus 65 plus 72 plus 95 plus 80 plus 106 plus 68. So the answer will be 786. Divide by 10 will be 78.6. So at the first, find the mean. The second step, find the distance between the mean and each value. So the first distance through the absolute value. We have the mean will be 78.6 minus 88. The second distance also 78.6 minus 77. Then the third distance will be the mean 78.6 minus 65. Then 78.6 minus 72. Then 78.6 minus 95. Then 78.6 minus 80. Then 78.6 minus 106. Then 78.6 minus 68. This is the distance between the mean and each value. So we can calculate now. We have here the first one. We have 78.6 minus 88 will be minus 9.4. And as you remember, the absolute value changed the negative to the positive. So the answer will be 9.4. And here we have 78.6 minus 77. The answer will be 1.6. And here we have 78.6 minus 65. Will be 13.6. And here we have 78.6 minus 72 will be 6.6. And here we have 78.6 minus 95 will be minus 16.4. Take the absolute value will be 16.4. And here we have 78.6 minus 80. So the answer will be minus 1.4. Take the absolute value will be 1.4. And here we have 78.6 minus 106. So the answer will be minus 27.4. Take the absolute value will be 27.4. And here we have 78.6 minus 68. So the answer will be 10.6. Then after you found the distance between the mean and each value, find the mean absolute deviation. How? Find the mean of the all distance here. We have here 9.4 plus 1.6 plus 13.6 plus 6.6 plus 16.4 plus 1.4 plus 27.4 plus 10.6. Divide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. will be 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Divide by 10. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Remains two values. I will check. Here 68, here 106, here 80, here 95, here 72, here 65, and here 88. Remains here two values, 65 and 70. So 78.6 minus 70 and we have 78.6 minus 65. So here 78.6 minus 70 will be 8.6. So add here 8.6. And here we have 78.6 minus 65. The answer will be 13.6. 13.6. Then we can calculate. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we can calculate. We can add 9.4 plus 1.6 plus 13.6 plus 6.6 plus 16.4 plus 1.4 plus 27.4 plus 10.6 plus 8.6 plus 13.6 will be 109. 0.2 divide by 10. Divide by 10. So the answer will be 10.92. This is the meaning of MED, mean absolute deviation. Mean absolute deviation. Compare mean absolute deviation, the second example here. For example, to driving school use the same practice drivers test. Out of 100, school A had scores of 70, 79, 80, 82, and 95. And school B had scores of 77, 83, 83, 81, and 82. So find the mean absolute deviation, then compare the variation. Compare the variation. Listen, please. The first step, find the means and the mean absolute deviation. For school A, class A, the mean will be 81.2 and the mean absolute deviation will be 5.84. And the second school, school B, class B, mean will be 81.2, the same mean here. But here we have different in the mean absolute deviation. Here we will be 1.76. Here will be 5.84. Here will be 1.76. So what you know, when you compare between the results, we have the same mean, but we have the different mean absolute deviation. So the mean absolute deviation for school A is less than or equal or greater than that for school B. Who can answer me?
Mr. Less than?
This is for school A and this is for school B. So less than or equal or greater than.
Greater than?
Greater than, because here we have 5.84, here we have just 1.75. So school A greater than school B. This means the score of school A or B are closer together and clustered around the mean. Who can answer me? Choose A or B. So let us choose A. Then the scores of school A or B are more spread out and not as clustered around the mean. Right. Now here we have right, here we have right, here we have wrong. So here we will choose B. So score of school B are closer together and clustered around the mean. The score for school A are more spread out and not as clustered around the mean. So what you know, school A mean absolute deviation will be 5.84 and school B mean absolute deviation will be 1.76. Okay, this is our lesson today. Who has any question?
No one.
Right. Who can remember us how to find the mean absolute deviation? What are the steps?
To find the distance between the mean and
At the first, find the mean. At the first, find the mean. Then the second step.
then we find the distance between them from
the distance between the mean and each value. The distance between the mean and each value. Then
we add them and divide them by the number of data.
great. We will be find the mean of the distance. The mean of the distance. Then we will get the mean absolute deviation. We will get the mean absolute deviation. And if we have 2 or 3 experiments, we can compare between the mean absolute deviation to know the measure of the variation. To know the measure of the variation. Who can remember us how many measure of variation we learned? What is the first measure? What is the first measure of variation?
Mean, median, mean and median.
Range. The first measure of variation, the range. Who can remember us how to find the range?
Compare between the greatest number and the least number.
The distance between the biggest number and the smallest number. Great. Who can remember us what is the second measure of variation? Interquartile range. The second measure of variation, interquartile range. Who can remember us how to find the interquartile range?
We find the median, and then we take the first half and then the other half and find the median.
At the first, we will find the median, put the data in the order, then check the data. If you have even number, take the two values in the middle. If you have odd number, just take the value on the middle. This is the median or Q2. Then you can find the first quartile, go to the first half in the data, then choose the median. You will find the first quartile. Then you can find the third quartile, go to the second half of the data, then choose the median. You will find the third quartile. Then you can find the interquartile range, the difference between the first and the third quartiles. And who can remember us now what is the third measure of variation? What is the third measure? Mean absolute deviation. Lesson of today. The third measure will be mean absolute deviation. Who can remember us how to find the mean absolute deviation? First find the mean, then find the distance between the mean and each value inside the data, then find the mean of the distance. You will get the mean absolute deviation. Okay, let us to take attendance, then you can leave. Aliazia. Aliazia. روضة ناصر. روضة ناصر.
نعم مستر.
روضة سلطان.
نعم.
شمسة فيصل.
Yes.
Yes.
عليا.
Yes, Mr.
لطيفة.
نعم مستر.
مريم. موزة.
مستر.
نغم.
Yes, Mr.
نورة.
Yes مستر.
هاجر.
نعم
هاجر.
مستر.
Okay, I will send to you the homework. You can solve it, inshallah, and tomorrow we will revise the lesson together and we will solve it, the homework together. This is our video today. Thank you for your listening. Have a nice day. See you tomorrow, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.